Chain stitch is another outline stitch that you can use in embroidery. So you can use it to create straight lines. I'll also show you how to use it as a filler stitch to create some really nice texture. So as the name suggests, it looks like a chain. So we'll be creating little loops or chain links. To begin your chain stitch, bring your needle up at the base of whatever you're stitching. Now I like to hold the thread with my thumb because I don't want to pull it all the way through. Alright, so we've come up, we're going to go back through or right next to where we came up. Now you want to leave a loop here. We're going to come up one stitch length, so you can make these longer, you can make them shorter. It's up to you and how bulky you want your stitch to be. So we're going to come up that one stitch length through that loop, and we're going to tug on it to shorten that loop. Now, I like to have like rounded, bouncy chains, so you can tug it tighter to really pull it in. But if you want like a nice rounded chain, just kind of try not to tug on it too tightly. Alrighty, so we've got our first chain. To do the second chain, we're going to go right through where we came up. So right at the top of the loop. So you want to make sure that you're on the inside of the loop, not the outside of the loop, and that you're not going through the thread of the previous loop. Right, so going back through, keeping a big loop, and coming up one stitch length through the middle of that loop, and then just pulling it to tighten the loop. So we'll just keep going up our line here. So that's all chain stitch is. So you can see I am working on a curve here. So you can either do a straight line or you can do a curved line. This does look really nice on gentle curves. All right, now we're at the top of our line. To finish it off, we're going to create our last chain link. Now, rather than going through our fabric on the inside of that loop that we just created, we're going to go just on the other side to create a tiny stitch to anchor that last chain in place. Next, I'm going to show you reverse chain stitch. So it's just reversing exactly what we just did. You may find this easier to do. You may prefer this method. Personally, I prefer this method, but you can try reverse chain stitch. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is create this little anchoring loop. So just create that stitch, then come down one stitch length. I'm actually going to turn this around. So whereas we went up here, you may find that it's easier to go down your the length of your line. Now, so we've come up one stitch length. I'm going to thread my needle under that little loop, pull the thread through. I'm going to push my needle down through the same hole. So to do our next stitch, our next chain length, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to come up one stitch, and then we're going to thread our needle underneath of that chain link, pull the thread through, and then go back. We'll just keep doing this. Now, I find that using this method, my stitches aren't as bouncy and as round, but it's totally up to you which method you use and which one you find easiest. this is chain stitch and this is our reverse chain stitch. So next up, now that I've shown you the two ways you can do chain stitch, I'm going to show you how to use it as a filler. And to begin, we are going to create a line of chain stitch. Now I'm making these stitches a little bit longer, but you can do them as short or as long as you choose. All right, so I've got my first line here. I'm going to end this row. Now you can choose to go in the same direction or you can do alternating directions. I'm going to do alternating directions. So I'm just going to turn my hoop around, then come up right next to our previous row. So you can see I'm coming up right next to that row. I'm not coming up through the row, but I am coming up pretty close. So as a filler, it's probably a little bit more effective if you are using smaller stitches, kind of like that size. But I just really want to give you an idea of how it can look. And if you want to create kind of a slightly different look, you can alternate the length of your stitches as you are filling them in, so you're not coming up, or your chains aren't the same length. I think just have fun with it. And if you find that you're getting uneven threads, what you can do is firstly grab your big loop here and just tug on it to even everything out. And with this tail, just bring your needle to the base, to the fabric, so the base of the thread. Use your fingers to straighten everything out and then keep going. So that is chain stitch as a filler stitch. So you can do your links exactly the same length, or you could vary them. It really depends what you want to look, what look you want. But you can create something quite textural.